Hello. I'm Dominic here with Nerds of Color, and today we're talking to Koyo Sonae. Koyo Sonae,
Yeah.
and you are the is it the executive music producer of the soundtrack for
hmm
Street Fighter 6, and you're coming out with a deluxe edition of the soundtrack, is what I understand.
We're thrilled. This is the soundtrack album that we put together for 4 LP vinyls, and we have selected quite many tracks specifically for this vinyl so that we can create a very special music experience uh, for the fans of Street Fighter. And
Great.
one thing that we did, musically speaking, is we mastered this album, remastered this album in UK so that it's going to have its own unique sound. So we are very thrilled how it came out.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, your background.
So I came to LA about 20 years ago, so back in 2003, to pursue recording engineering. And ever since I've been working in the music industry, in particular for film, television, and video games. And I produce music uh, for film, TV, and video games, especially for Japanese film and TV and video games. And Capcom is one of the companies that we often collaborate with, um, from Street Fighter to Resident Evil. So we very much enjoy working with Capcom.
Great. Would you say you come from a video gaming background? Is that something you do? Or
100%, and
okay.
especially for Street Fighter.
Okay.
As a kid, I grew up with Street Fighter. Probably many of us are.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, at the time, it was an arcade. So, I used to ask my mom to give me a couple coins and, go to arcades. So that's what I used to do. Definitely
Nice.
grew up with the Street Fighter in arcade.
Yeah. I mean, what's your music training background? Is it on DAW or instruments, or like how do you come to it?
Sure. My first instrument was a piano.
Mm-hmm.
I started playing piano since I was probably 6 or 7. And like many of us, I started with the classical piano, but soon I got bored, and because I didn't really like practicing piano, very shamefully. But then I jumped into jazz because it seems
Mm-hmm.
much more free. So I was very fascinated to play jazz. So ever since I started playing jazz, then picking up, other instruments like guitars, bass, and so that was my sort of childhood until 18 years old, until high school. Then after I moved to LA, I changed my instruments to mixing, meaning producing music, recording somebody's music, somebody's performance, and putting together by mixing the music. So I became more of the engineer. So my background after that is more focusing on engineering, and it's not necessarily playing instruments, but it is the part of the productions, and I consider as a big part of the production. So
Sure.
I often describe my instrument as a mixing board, and fader becomes my instruments after that.
So I do some music myself, and we're doing a project right now which involves like, it's not a band, it's like a loose collective of people. So I
Oh,
thought,
that's so cool.
yeah, what's it like bringing together different artists? You must have to do a lot of organization of people, and also how do you choose which artists are on this particular project? I mean, talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Hmm.
So, one thing that I guess I do is really collaborating with many different genres of music. Many artists in different genres. So, in the case of Street Fighter, obviously the theme is hip hop.
Hmm.
So we have worked with many recording artists, Rocco 88, Randy Marks, GRP, and there are some of the artists that we have worked with among others. But what we focus on once it comes to finding artists is really just a fit, because after all, what we're doing in the Street Fighter 6 is not, the theme is hip hop, but
Hmm.
it is a
Hmm.
hip hop meets Street Fighter.
Yeah.
So Street Fighter always has had very international theme
Yeah.
because, the characters from different countries, guy from India,
Yeah.
um, you know, Chun-Li
The
from,
Russian guy and
exactly
yeah, yeah,
from China, and, Blanca from Brazil. So
yeah.
it's so international theme. So while it's hip hop, but what's more important is really, it's not necessarily nationality, but it's more about unique voice to represent each character. So once it comes to finding the right artist, it really comes down to if the artist is going to fit for certain theme. If it's a battle theme, if it, if that's going to fit the tone of the music and tone of the character. If it's more like a menu music, a main theme, does the recording artist have the right energy? So we really discuss all the time, and we explore so many artists, quite honestly, on the social media,
Hmm.
on the Instagram, you know, um, TikTok and YouTube, because we really want to find the right person, and we
Hmm.
don't honestly quite care about the credits so much,
Hmm.
or the fame, or but it's more about finding the right artist. So we really go extra mile for that.
Great.
We're so lucky to work with people who are familiar with the franchise, Street Fighter, and many of the artists that we've worked with. The moment that we mention what we're working on, they are very excited about it,
Oh, totally.
and
Yeah.
they also can visualize what we're looking for. So the rest of it honestly becomes quite easy
Yeah.
because we're aiming the same direction. And that's probably the hardest things to do once it comes to collaborating with somebody. Either it's film, television, series, or video games, just making sure that we're facing the same direction.
Yeah.
So luckily, the franchise has such a great gravity, and naturally we just kind of aim for the same direction, and we all have the same, favorite characters, and we get excited about it, and we talk about it. So usually, it's not as hard as you think.
Okay. Well, that's great. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you said the hip hop thing because I mean, Uh, that's my understanding is this Street Fighter has a more decisively hip hop angle than previous ones even. And
Yeah.
also, I mean, as you said, like the hip hop music and video games, especially certain video games, have always aligned together, over the past 20 years or whatever. And also, sorry, this is but to put it all together, like, just last year we were celebrating what we'd say the 50th anniversary of hip
Yeah,
hop, right? So I
that's right.
guess I don't know, I just if you could uh talk a little bit about that in the sense of I mean, how that's a stronger flavor in this version of Street Fighter and how that comes through in the music.
Yeah. Well, I think, I love hip hop myself, and I had a chance to work in the hip hop industry for a while. Um, but one of the most exciting part of hip hop, personally, is the way how it evolved by collaborating with many genres of music. Literally every genre, right? I mean, from rock to jazz to everything. I mean, stylistically, it just
Hmm.
keeps evolving and influencing other genre as well with very strong beats. The beats elements is one of the major elements in the hip hop, but the
Sure.
spirit of the hip hop is something that we absolutely admire. The way how it really incorporates almost any style. It's just eats everything, in a very positive way.
Hmm.
So that part to us is extremely exciting and interesting.
Mm.
And also the international element of hip hop, the way how it really expands. I mean, I love some of the French
Mm.
hip hop. I love German hip hop. The
Okay.
aggression is really cool.
Hmm.
And the power is really cool. So is the Japanese hip hop. I came from Japan, so I listened to some of the Japanese hip hop that stylistically it's very different. The rhyme is different, the groove is different, but there's so many other ways to kind of enjoy the music itself. So to me, the international nature of the hip hop and sort of the very collaborative nature of the hip hop synchronizes with the Street Fighter as well, the way how international it is, and how much variety it has. So um, again, I think that Street Fighter, that kind of goes together in some way, but the Street Fighter has a lot of street culture,
Hmm.
and hip hop has a lot of street culture. So I feel that there are a lot of similarities in between.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the documentary on Tribe Called Quest where the
Yeah.
bit where Q-Tip like he's going through all the records and pulling out little weird things and
Oh
stuff like that.
yeah.
Like I love stuff like that. So on this album and on this soundtrack, is there anyone's particular theme or any detail that you want to call attention to that you have a favorite or funny story about how it was made? Just
Sure. I mean, every character track is extremely fun to listen to. The reason why I say that is because, each composer of each character, either it's Ryu, Chun-Li, Zangief, anybody, any character, they started writing music based on the images and a lot of new information that came together for Street Fighter 6. A lot of information that was not available or was created for Street Fighter franchise. So these are brand new information, and as a result, um, the the theme music for each character was completely rewritten. So it's a new music. It's not like using the same music from, 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 10 years ago,
hmm
but it's a totally rewritten brand new theme, which is really rare, quite honestly, in a game that has such a long history because everybody knows the theme. Why would you change it? Why would you reinvent the wheel, right?
hmm
Because you're familiar
My
with it.
friend's favorite is Guile's theme. He's really a nerd for the Guile theme, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
I
me
never got that
too.
show, but yeah, yeah.
Me
Okay.
too. I love Guy's theme,
Please
right?
go on. Please go on. Yeah.
Yeah, and so is I really like everybody's theme from the past. So, but they are so bold and they're so adventurous for challenging themselves to change the themes. Um, because there's so much new elements that's going to be revealed in Street Fighter 6. So, in other words, in some way, the character themes in Street Fighter are sort of a new sketches, new imagery of the new characters, which is different from the past, but they are still incorporating some elements from the old theme. Like, for
Mm,
example, the theme of Ryu has some sort of the rhythmic elements that still you can feel the past Ryu theme, but it's not quite.
hmm
Um, but also in this game, well, I guess I'm describing Ryu because it's one of my favorite themes.
Sure. Please
Um,
do. Mhm.
it's because in this game, Ryu is kind of like, he found his own way to entertain himself. Like he wears a cool jacket,
Hmm.
and in his story, it reveals that, he looks like a poor guy, when in the previous ones that he doesn't really dress himself really well and he usually has a beaten up clothes. But it turned out his rival and friend Ken helps him to, create the credit card and he's actually comfortably living himself. So he wears something nice in this game. And so there's so much information that it revealed in this game, and as a result, people feel like, oh, Ryu is actually kind of having his good time. So the music itself is much more funky
hmm
and much more fun. It's not so serious, but it's much more entertaining. So that kind of describes where he's at in his life right now. That he's having fun, he's having good
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
It's just kind of creating a new imagery of you. So that happens to every character. So that part is definitely my favorite part of Street Fighter 6 music, especially since I have been a huge fan of the music, and it was a big question whether keeping the same music, a same theme, or changing the theme, but they decided to change the theme. But I think it turned out, the decision was really came out great.
What's the
Great.
idea for the audiences for the fans of Street Fighter right now? If they want to have this a vinyl set of the whole soundtrack, like what do you hope they take away from that, or like what's as I understand, it's a vinyl set and there's some artwork involved, and
Yeah. Can I bring the art book so that I
yeah,
can just show you?
yeah, just
Okay.
show it
Yeah,
into the camera.
let me bring it. So, yeah, so this is the vinyl set.
Great, yeah,
We're so excited about it
totally.
because this is actually the brand new art that our soundtrack art director um Goro Tokuda has designed specifically, and his team have specifically designed it. So um just for the soundtrack. Usually a lot of video game soundtrack they don't do that, but the dev team, the game team was just so excited about it. They're huge fan of music, they're huge fan of vinyl, so they're so excited about this. So they decided to design specifically for this. So
Mm-hmm.
and the when you touch it, it's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, we have the vinyls, right? So these vinyls are again designed
Oh,
specifically for this.
great, cool.
Really pretty. I love
Yeah,
vinyls. I love the size. Look, it's just
yeah,
so huge. So
nice,
I love these, of
nice.
course. Um, but what's so cool about it, there are two other cool things that I wanted to share with you.
Sure.
One is this slip mat.
Hmm.
So this slip mat looks like it's a really cool design, and
Mm-hmm.
it says Street Fighter, and it's got Tatsumaki, Senpukiak, and
Okay.
there's a Ryu that doing the Shoryuken here. But what's cool about it
Okay.
is when you put that on the turntable and spin it and film it with your iPhone with the light, it creates an animation.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, that's
So
pretty. That's
yeah,
pretty
so
cool.
there's a guy named artist named Drew Tetz. He's an incredible artist for doing that, and he does that for a major recording artist.
Yeah,
And we've been a fan of his work, and we reached out to him, and turned out he's also a Street Fighter fan. So
nice.
he was excited about it and decided to join us for creating that. So that was another great collaboration that we had for making this soundtrack album for the vinyl.
Excellent. I
Um,
have just a few more questions. This is my final question on this specific Street Fighter, and then I want to ask you a few other video game things.
yeah.
But just basically, like, what's your favorite Street Fighter character to main? Yeah, everyone should know. Do you have
Well,
one?
I'm very Zangief guy.
Okay.
For a
Okay.
long time, for 30 years. So, I'm just that. I
Right.
just love each version of Street Fighter, how he plays, and
Right on.
the regular move in Zangief is just quite fun. So,
Mm-hmm.
I always liked it. I still play.
Excellent. Okay.
Can I
Um,
actually show you one more thing
yeah, yeah,
about
please, please,
Final?
please.
Sorry about that, but
Go show
I
me more.
wanted to show you the art book part, which is that part that we are so excited about. And this is actually the inspiration for me why we wanted to do this.
Hmm.
So this is the like art book from 30 years ago that I had as my child treasure,
Wow. Wow.
and
For
I
two,
bought
is
it
that nice?
30
Street
years ago.
Fighter 2? The
Two,
one? Okay,
exactly,
okay.
right? So
I
it was
read.
like this, and
Yeah.
as a kid, I
Awesome.
really, really loved it.
Yeah. Great.
And Guile, right?
Yeah,
Like your
totally.
friend likes.
Yeah.
And this one had a lot of character information. I loved it, and it came with the CD. So
Nice.
I used to play the CD and listen to the music and see the character book, and like had a lot of imagination what the characters are like. I was wondering about the characters and background and how they live and their families and stuff. Like I
Yeah.
was just imagining as a kid. So
Yeah.
this time, we have a vinyls, but also with the art book that's even bigger than the book that I had 30 years ago because it's the vinyl size. So this is the art book
Totally.
that comes with the vinyl, and this time it's even bigger.
Totally.
So
It's
we got like really nice size art book
yeah.
that it's just really amazing.
Yeah.
When you have a physical book that you can just kind of open up and it covers the whole of your face, and you
Totally.
can actually see that
Wait,
in the
do me a
back.
favor. Do that again and just it'll be a fun visual if you just hold it there for just like 2 seconds so I can use it as like
Yeah, of
a
course.
cutaway point if I need one.
So the idea was to we really wanted to create the whole experience. It's not just having the physical item, but listen to the music with the highest possible quality. With the art book, visually, you have that so amazingly, and also the slip mat on the vinyl
Mm-hmm.
gives you the whole interactive experience. So it is the full physical experience that you can do outside of the screen. So
Yeah.
that's what we wanted to create. So
Excellent. Well,
yeah.
that stuff is really cool. Is it a limited edition or is like how easy is it to get? I didn't read that part.
Yeah, it's
Is
not
it
it's not limited edition. It's a collector's edition, so it's not limited to the numbers. But
okay?
I hope it's gonna be around for a long time,
Yeah, totally.
because it's a vinyl, so. But
Excellent.
yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, well, you clearly put a lot of work into it. And okay, so at this point, I was just going to ask you a few questions about
Yeah.
your background in arts and video games and stuff. And
Oh yeah.
I looked at your IMDb page a little bit. Speaking of books, you worked on Metal Gear 5 a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I have the massive Metal Gear book that my friend
Oh, that's
who
awesome.
is
Oh,
much
that's
more versed in
awesome.
video games than me. He
Yeah.
gifted me this book, and so I know all about having the cool immersive book for
Yeah.
the games.
That job was, it was really interesting situation that, we had a chance to collaborate with, different composers for Metal Gear 5 compared to Metal Gear 4, or previous
hmm
one. So I was coordinating with the composers named Justin Burnett and also DJ Daniel James to collaborate with the in-house composers at the time at the Konami. So I was facilitating sort of the composer situations.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I also saw did you work on the Gatchaman movie of some year or other?
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
listing things that I thought were cool. I
yeah,
didn't actually see that one, but
yeah. I worked on that one. That was more. Yeah, I was score producing the
okay.
film. And I do that for many other anime, and video games, and yeah, I do a lot
Okay.
of it.
Excellent. Now just sort of as a fun thing, I'm just gonna say a few names of a couple video games and
Yeah.
just give me whatever reaction you want. Nier Automata,
Mm-hmm. I love
and
you.
oh, I was thinking specifically of games that have like distinctive music in
Oh,
some games.
absolutely. I just saw that concert in Berlin last week.
Excellent. I saw
Yeah.
they had that concert. That's
It,
cool.
it's incredible. I love New Automata. It's
Yeah,
great. Music is great. The vocalist is fantastic. It's great. It's
okay.
absolutely fantastic.
I agree. I'm glad. Elder Scrolls, Skyrim.
Of course, from
Well,
I'm a huge fan. The composer is great. I saw them a few times. They're really fantastic people. Very humble, wonderful people. Super exciting. I love the game so much.
great. Okay.
And I got killed so many times.
Yeah, yeah, no, that one takes a lot of
Oh yeah.
investment in it in any
Oh
way you
yeah.
would do it. It just do you want to mention any other video game music that you especially like or are
Oh
interested in?
gosh. But I would say, since I'm a Japanese student, we're talking about, Japanese game music. Um but one piece of music that I'm still very thrilled and excited and proud is Devil May Cry 5's music. And
Ah,
in
yeah,
particular,
yeah.
there's a
You worked on this too.
I
You
worked
were
on that. I worked on the game.
yeah.
So, in particular, there are two tracks called Devil Trigger, and there's another song called Bury the Light. These songs have been played so much in the world, and we're extremely surprised and still extremely grateful as much as 100 million times.
Mm,
Um, and we never expected it was going to be such a big hit and people would enjoy it. But, we see that, you know, it just on the Spotify, we see, it increases by millions every month still.
yeah.
So
No, that's thank you for reminding me. That's
I
excellent
really
work on that one.
we are with the composer Casey Edwards. We talk about it all the time, but very, very, very happy and grateful that the music has been still loved.
Okay. Because you talked about Japanese franchises and music. Are you a guy who's going to play the next Macross game, which is apparently coming out in March?
Well, no, but I love macros. I grew up with macros too. I can't
And
wait.
I'm not sure, but did that start the whole music being deeply in the story of the science fiction story uh, trope? I don't know if that's true. You know,
I don't know. I don't know that part, but I think it has affected sort of the anime music in many ways.
hmm,
The way how, especially this sort of like a sci-fi anime music is today. Um, it has a lot of influences. Um, Certainly, it's set in its own genre.
yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, Macross is the one where the music is actually part of the story, like a big part of the story. There's
Yeah,
always a pop singer, and
yeah,
it's has to do with aliens and how they fight the aliens. And anyway, if you don't
yeah,
know that, you're missing out. And supposedly they're coming out with a new game this year.
yeah.
Lastly, this is totally on a different topic. Do you have an opinion on the Suicide Squad game that just came out, or do you not know about that?
Well, I didn't play yet, so I
Okay,
can't really talk about it. I've been watching enough, but I don't want to talk about for the game that I haven't played yet.
okay,
So yeah,
fair
I would
enough.
love to play soon.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then we can wrap up. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close out for today?
No, but I wanted to ask you what kind of music you do.
Oh, well, we're making an album right now that is is say it's broadly, sort of pop radio songs. Me and my
Cool.
friend who I used to write these rock musical theater things with. And a
Oh,
few of the
cool.
songs have a certain comic book superhero content that, we're gonna try to uh put before like, the Comic-Con crowd and like the, the DC Comics kind of crowd. It's called
And
12 Valentines
okay.
is project, and we're doing a little crowdfunding thing. We have a few teasers out, and I'll probably fold all that into, links that will go with
Yeah, please.
when we do this piece. And and I followed you on Twitter, and I don't know. Oh, we usually ask people how they like to be contacted on social media if they do.
Yeah, well, Twitter is great.
Okay.
Twitter is fantastic.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Well, good luck with the project. I admire, you know, artists really, when you try to express your thoughts and philosophy and mythology, through music. I think it's incredible form of art, and it's so much fun, and I really enjoy when people do that, and especially when it's so original. So congratulations to you. That's really wonderful.
Great. And congratulations to you. I listened to the soundtrack. It's great. It's
Thank
good
you.
stuff. And so what a good note to end on. Towards music, towards Street Fighter 6. And it's been really nice talking to you, Koyo Sonae. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And
Thank you.
I'm Dominic Mah with Nerds of Color, and we that's all for now.
All right. Well,
Okay.
thank you for listening.
All
Thank
right.
you.